Okay, welcome. If you are here for the session on empowering educators, what AI can and can't do to empower teachers, or to, what does it say? Can't do for teachers, then you're in the right place. Track B being the middle room with the good chairs. So super happy to have you here. My name is Karin Forssell. I am the director of the Learning Design and Technology Master's Program at Stanford Graduate School of Education, where I'm a senior lecturer. I also direct the GSE Makery there and the AI Tinkery, which I hope some of you have checked out in the hallway. And as it happens, I'm also a middle school teacher, so I'm really enjoying this opportunity to work with, yes, exactly, middle school teachers. So today we get to talk about something very close to my heart, which is how AI can and can't help us do the important work that we do. And with me, I have three wonderful people. I'll introduce them to you really quickly here. To my left is Molly Montgomery. She is an English and ELD teacher at Albany High School and a teacher consultant with the Bay Area Writing Project. Last year, she was an AI Literacy Fellow with the Stanford initiative CRAFT, which many of you have already heard about. For those of you who haven't, it stands for Classroom Ready Resources About AI for Teachers. And she has facilitated workshops for teachers on using AI and other EdTech tools to teach writing. She's passionate about bringing AI literacy to students from diverse backgrounds and using education technology to promote equity. So thanks for being here, Molly.
Thank you.
And then to her left is Stephanie Sumarna. Stephanie is an EdTech and Innovation Teacher on Special Assignment, which we call TOSA, at the Santa Cruz County Office of Education. She supports teachers in integrating technology and computer science into their classrooms, and Stephanie facilitates a community of practice for educators called AI Explorers, in which teachers explore integrating AI into instruction. And she also supports a student leadership group called YETI, Youth Empowerment Through Technology and Innovation. You can believe the kids want to be a part of the YETI group, I'll bet. Focused on technology and digital creativity. And she is passionate about making learning engaging, accessible, and future-ready, which is so relevant. And finally, we've got Suba Marti, who teaches computer science and STEAM electives from her makerspace classroom at Ralston Middle School at Belmont Redwood Shores School District. She's passionate about making thinking and learning visible with fun and engaging makerspace-based lessons incorporating various physical computing devices and low-tech and digital fabrication tools. So this will be really interesting to bring in. She's an active member of Ralston's Professional Development Committee, bringing meaningful learning opportunities to teachers, like their recent AI Literacy for Educators work in collaboration with the Stanford GSE. So welcome, thank you all for being here. And without further ado, we're going to jump in. The format for this session is going to be that I have prepared some questions, and we'll go ahead and ask them to answer. And we'll spend maybe 20 minutes doing that. And then we're going to turn it over to you at your tables so you can all discuss. Maybe these will prompt some ideas, but of course you'll bring your own ideas to the conversations at the table. We'll wander around and join you, and then we'll finish up with just a few final thoughts at the end of our session. Sound good? Okay. So, first question. One of the obvious questions is, how can AI help with instruction and assessment in the classroom? A lot of the really early reactions from teachers have been about, oh my goodness, students are going to cheat, right? Why are they worried about cheating? Because cheating is the opposite of learning. So if we focus on learning, what can AI do to help teachers with the instruction and with that learning cycle of instruction and assessment? And where might it get in the way? And of course, who better to kick us off than our English teacher, because English language arts has been at the forefront of this debate from the beginning. Molly, would you help us out?
Sure. So I do come from this question from the perspective of a writing teacher. So I think in terms of instruction, AI is really going to work the best when it is mediated through the teacher. I do think we're going to have students who are using it on their own, of course. But I think with our content knowledge and our pedagogical knowledge, we'll be able to use it as a tool to augment our instruction, using it to create like better scaffolds that are more personalized for the students, or to provide more in-depth feedback, as long as the tools are adapted to be actually useful for students from diverse backgrounds. I have used AI as like a feedback tool for my students. I view it more as a peer review tool rather than as a replacement for my teaching, because when students are getting the feedback from the AI, it's not necessarily going to give the type of feedback that I would give. It is using an algorithm, and it may say things that are biased or that only prioritize standard English. And I think that it could be one way for students to check their work or to get ideas, but I don't think that would take away from me also giving them feedback, because I'll come at it from a different perspective. And that kind of also goes with the question of how will it hinder assessment. I know as a writing teacher, we're all very concerned about students using AI to replace their thinking. However, I think that shows the limitations of our current assessments. If we are going to ask students to only write 5-paragraph essays, then the temptation to use AI is going to be really, really high. So I think real authentic writing does not happen in that format. So we have to go beyond the sort of strict academic formats that we're used to teaching, even though those are the ones on the assessments, and figure out how we're going to assess students in a more authentic way.
Can you follow up, quick follow-up question? Can you give us an example of a way that you did that very concretely with some of your students?
Sure, yeah. So I have taught a research paper this past year where instead of, it was still a traditional academic research paper, but instead of having students write strictly 5-paragraph format essay, they had to think about what is the rhetorical purpose of each of these paragraphs and how I'm going to structure it based on that purpose. And then when I gave when I ran it through an AI feedback tool using Brisk, I was also asking the AI tool to give them feedback on whether they were using different rhetorical strategies, not just whether it was like following the claim, evidence, reasoning format. That is sort of the traditional way we teach writing. I don't think we need to like completely get rid of that, but I do think we need to show students the potential to go beyond that.
That's very nice. Thank you. Stephanie, you get a lot of exposure to a lot of different teachers in your role. Tell us a little bit about what you're seeing.
Yeah, thank you. You know when you're on a panel and the person who goes before you just like says everything and you're like, yeah, +1. That was amazing. And I'm going to build on what you shared, zooming out just a little bit, because my work supports teachers TK through 12, so the perspective is a little bit broader. Thinking about the work that I've done with the AI Explorers program that was mentioned, which is a group of educators who are working in a community of practice that is funded by the Stanford Accelerator for Learning, so thank you. They are working together to explore new tools and then really talk about exactly what we're talking about right now, like what's working, how is this helping me, and then how is this maybe not helping me, and where do I need to stop using AI? So one of the tools that I think really has the wow factor, that is a concrete example of how AI can support educators, is Brisk. I found across all of my support of teachers, not just in AI Explorers, but also in professional learning, that Brisk really is a clear, concrete example of how AI can just give teachers back their most valuable resource, which is time. It really helps them with productivity. Hands up if you're familiar with Brisk in the room. Okay, I'm gonna give a little bit of a quick example of what it is. It sort of acts as like an AI filter that you put on top of anything that you can view in Google Chrome. So all the things that you do in like ChatGPT or Gemini, you can do directly while looking at it in Chrome instead of needing to copy and paste back and forth with multiple tabs. And it helps with exactly those things, right? Assessment and feedback. It also helps with instruction. So one of the things that Brisk enables teachers to do is they can look at an article on Chrome and, sorry Newsella, but they can go ahead and have that article rewritten at different levels. So it enables them as a teacher to have that informational text and provide it for their students at levels that's appropriate for them, but they're all accessing the same content. Amazing, time saver. They get that article saved as a Google Doc in their Google Drive that they can print, send on their LMS, whatever they need to do, so it's also much more usable. In addition, Brisk has this amazing tool. I am not sponsored by Brisk, by the way.
It sounds that way.
Brisk has this amazing feedback tool. It was mentioned in an earlier panel, this idea of curation as a skill. So what the feedback tool does in Brisk is anything that you view in Chrome, so Google Doc, a student piece of writing, you can have it analyze and provide feedback. I was a former third grade teacher. Glow and Grow is the feedback that I will live and die by. So they have that as one of the options, but you can also upload a rubric, do things like that, and it will add comments, and you can directly copy and paste those into the comment bar in the Google Doc. That saves teachers so much time. They can now have a starting point with a database of comments that they can pick and choose the best ones that they feel are most appropriate for their student. So those are just a couple ways that one tool is saving teachers a lot of time. And then I think this goes nicely into the hindrance, which is an over-reliance, right? We've also heard today that there is built-in bias and inequity in the data that's been used to train these models. So I think that it is really important that while we support teachers in learning about how to use these tools to save time, that we equally support them in understanding where to be cautious and where to double check and where to keep the human in the loop.
Fantastic. Okay, Suba, you're focused on hands-on learning, and
Yes.
AI is very digital. So tell me a little bit about how you think about what it can and can't do.
As a computer science and STEAM teacher, this is where I am right now. But from my path is from an engineer to bring in technology to the teachers in the classroom, and then doing PD for the teachers in the classroom. And then once the PD is done, so now I am a computer science and elective teacher, because I was teaching the teachers and then now I want to teach the students. So as a computer science and elective teacher, we want to bring the joy of learning to the kids. So, in the math classes, in their ELA classes, they have a set curriculum that the teachers have to follow. A lot of them is scripted. All these elective classes are the ones that is going to give you the motivation and the joy of learning, and then being a lifelong learner. What is your passion? What are the skills you are good at? Those are the things that is going to help you with your future career readiness. That's how I feel about elective classes. And then with the AI coming in, yes, it is going to help us with the instruction, but what is the type of instruction, right? What type of instruction it is going to help the teachers with? So that is and also I am thinking philosophically, what is instruction? What are we instructing the students for, right? Are we getting them ready to be finding their passions, are ready to find their workforce? So we have to think a little bit more deeply than bringing in just the tools that are available for writing lesson plans for the kids. So the teachers have lesson plans, but it may be really helpful with the AI tools to bring in get an idea to start for a teacher who is new, right? But for the veteran teachers, I put a example in a AI instruction, AI chatbot. How do we build a cardboard automator, right? So it is giving me instructions, but it is not yet there. So we have to be really cognizant of that. And also as a computer science and STEAM elective teachers, I think the responsibility to teach the students, how it is going to impact them, how it is going to, those are the things that I am trying to teach in the class. Is it is coming. You have to be, you have to know these things. Kids know, when I was teaching robotics, robots are going to take over the world. My job is not going to be there. Now it is the AI, right? So we have to let them know, they are hearing here and there, but they really don't understand what they are getting into. So my job as a teacher is, I thought about it, and being a computer science and elective teacher, I don't have much curriculum, set curriculum from the state, right? So I have some leniency to go bring in different things. So one of the things I brought in is AI, right? Even I want to learn what is going on. So since I have a intrinsic interest to know these things, I have time and effort, I can put it in my life right now, but I don't think that that can be generalized for all the teachers. Mm-hmm. So when we are empowering the teachers, we have to really like see like what is, it is not like all the teachers in the school is going to get this. So it has to be personalized for the teachers too. So that's what we saw in the educational technology too, right? All the tools are, so many tools were coming in. So how is it really going to help their personalized learning before we go to the students? How is it going to empower the teachers first? So we have to think really deep into that.
Yes, keep the microphone, because I'm going to go ahead and build on what you were just saying for the next question, which was, so some of these tools actually provide us with an opportunity to rethink what our curriculum is. And there's sort of two levels to this. There's the, like, do we teach them? What do we teach them? Victor Lay was asking this morning about how we define AI literacy. What do students all need to know about AI? But also, how does the availability of AI tools change what we teach? So you want to go ahead and start us off and think about that?
The different, the things that, there are different tools available, right? So we, as teachers, we need to be educated about that first. So for that, it is coming from the administrators, it's coming from the state, the curriculum. I don't think there is much leeway for the teachers to stay way far from the curriculum. For the core teachers, for me, it is there, right? But not for the core teachers. When the administrators come into your room and they are looking for, CSPTs, what are you doing in your evaluation? So they have to keep that in the mind. And also, most of the teachers are like forced to teach for the test nowadays, because that's what people are looking for, like state tests and scores. Your home values depend on that. So everything is geared towards that. So I don't know how much AI can help to change that systematic things before we go into the curriculum. Maybe like private schools have a little bit more leverage than the public schools. That's my thinking.
It's possible. Okay. Yeah. Stephanie, any thoughts on that? You want to build on it?
Yeah. As an elder millennial, I remember, yes, great. I remember the early days of dial-up internet, sitting in our computer room in our house, and my mom, like, we had Encyclopedia Britannica in the house, and I remember her being like, what's going to happen? Like, you're going to have the answers to all those questions now on the computer, and you can just search and get the answers. So I feel like this parallels that question. Now that we have AI as this superpowered tool where students can access information, they can access feedback and support, what does that mean? I think it changes from not what we're teaching, but how we're teaching, right? We're going to focus less on rote memorization like we did earlier, right? And it's going to be focused more on the 5 C's, on critical thinking, communication, thinking about how students are learning how to ask good questions and evaluate the information that they have. And I think it frees up a lot of space for, dare I hope, project-based learning, hands-on learning, where students are able to access that information that they need more efficiently and do tasks that are more meaningful for them.
Hopefully, yes. Molly, you're on the forefront of this because you teach something that is very creative to begin with.
Yes.
Yes, how do you see this playing out?
With writing curriculum in particular, I think what I am trying to emphasize, I do a unit on the impact of AI on society with my students. It's also is a test prep unit for the AP exam. So I am sort of balancing both the desire to show them like how writing can be creative in different ways, while also showing them like there is also a formula you can follow to get a good score in the AP exam, because it's like those things are both valuable to my students. I value the creativity more, but I recognize that to get their buy-in, they want to know how to do well in the AP exam. But what I try to focus on in that unit is how humans have skills that AI cannot replicate. So in terms of AI literacy, is showing them, I think in the book Co-Intelligence, Ethan Malla calls it like the jagged frontier of AI, where you're trying to test its limits, see what it can do, what it can't do. So we look at, like, we give it an AP exam prompt, we look at models of how it responds, and then we also look at essays written by humans that are actually not even from the AP exam. They're like essays that people have written for the joy of writing and sharing their work with the world. And we compare them and see how different the writing is when it comes from like an authentic place of human creativity and wanting to share knowledge with an audience versus like the AI can do things well that the students can emulate, like the structure, the organization, giving very clear sentence structure and examples. But then if you actually read what it's saying, it doesn't have personal experience. It can't tell a story about personal experience. You can do some prompting to get it to emulate human writing a bit more, and we kind of play around with that too. But the main takeaway I want them to take away is that to develop your own voice, you can use these tools, but you have to also learn what style of writing you really resonate with and practice it. So I think that it will change the emphasis hopefully away from like the formulas, and even though we still have these assessments that require them to learn how to write to a formula, and instead go more towards how can we use writing in an authentic way, and that might include AI, and but it also has to include like the students' voices.
Personally meaningful work. Yes. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and ask Stephanie to start us out on this last question. So we've talked a little bit about, you know, the work that teachers do and how the AI has the potential to offload a lot of that drudgery, right? There was a famous tweet that went out, or who knows what they're called anymore. But anyway, I don't want AI to create stuff for me. I want it to do the laundry so I can be creative, right? I'm paraphrasing. But so what are some of those opportunities in the work of teacher? We've talked a little bit about like lesson planning, but we all work in systems on sites that have a lot of other potential. Do you see opportunities for AI to impact the whole education system that we're a part of? I'll let you start, Stephanie.
Yeah, it's interesting. When you bring it to a classroom level, I feel excited and optimistic. And then when we talk about systems, for some reason, my red flags start to go up. I'm like, eek. That's where I feel like there might be a temptation to overemphasize efficiency. And that I imagine a doomsday scenario of like a large collection of data, and we're having some AI tool sort students into, we're going back to tracks or something, and they're like self-selecting which students can access which courses, and that really makes me nervous and uncomfortable. And so I think that we want to make sure that the guardrails are in place before we're scaling up to use AI tools to impact systems. And I think that that really starts with educating our students, our staff, and our community around what these tools are, how they work, and then involving them in the decisions of how to implement them at a systems level.
Thank you. Go ahead, Suba.
Yeah. The system level has to come from parents, and then the workforce, where we want to make the changes from, right? So, like Stephanie was saying, if the conversation has to start from the higher level of the school district, and it has to include all the stakeholders in there to see what is going to work. So, if they are going to say it is data driven, so it is what type of data? There are things that you cannot measure with data, especially the social emotional learning part of the students, which is like big now after coming back from pandemic. So those are the things that we have to really put our guardrails on and understand, like if this is something that teachers are asked to do, we have to be educated and given a choice and given a voice so that we can be part of those decisions. We have to be really pay attention to that.
Excellent. Molly, bring us home.
I also just want to echo the fear that if we put too much of the focus on efficiency, that it'll just add more to teachers' plates without taking anything away, because I definitely am concerned about that. From a systems level, I think AI has highlighted the problem that we have, that we put way too much emphasis on the grading system and the fact that these grades determine our students' futures and outcomes. Put so much pressure on them that they are very tempted to cheat. So I think that has highlighted that issue, and maybe now we have a chance to change the way we assess students to make it more of a process-based assessment where students are creating portfolios throughout their years of high school, maybe to reflect upon their learning, and that can be something that they can submit to colleges rather than having it all be based on like standardized test scores and grades that are very flawed in our current system. And then also, I hope that there will be more interdisciplinary learning with the integration of STEM and English and other areas, because I think students can't necessarily learn in a siloed manner anymore, because all the skills they need to learn to be able to go out into the workforce have to be integrated together.
All right. Well, thank you so much for those perspectives. Now we're going to go ahead and turn this over to you for the next 30 minutes or so to think about, maybe you got some ideas from this conversation, but maybe you have some others as well. So let's have some rousing conversation at the tables. And I'm going to invite you guys to go down and join different tables and participate in the conversation. And then in about half an hour, we're going to go ahead and have a final round of thoughts up here. All right? Sounds good? Yeah. I love a room of educators. Can I just say how awesome that is? Also, my favorite EdTech tool is this chime. Thank you. I heard a lot of really great conversations going. I know it's hard to stop, but I'm going to just ask our panelists to share one more thing after those conversations to finish us out. What's one more thing you wanted to add to the conversation based on these conversations?
I think my final thought after talking with some great educators and a student about the potential of students to drive the AI innovation education, I really appreciated. I don't know your name, but you shared with me some ways that you've used AI, and I think that the students are going to come up with even more creative ways to use it. So I hope that they will bring those insights into our education system, and those will not be lost.
I was lucky enough to be invited to this table, and I feel that I'm walking away from that conversation. Earlier the term was shared, an impatient optimistic. I love that, by the way. I feel like I'm cautiously optimistic after our conversation. What was shared was both this idea that we need to take time to pause and really think critically about where things are going and allow all stakeholders to provide input into where they're going next so that we don't replicate systems of inequity that are built into our educational system as it stands. And that also there's a cohort of people across our country who are working to set guidelines and parameters and to think about how AI can be used to drive change.
I was sitting in the table with this couple of Stanford researchers who are working on personalized learning. So it's nice to hear that they are thinking about engagement. How do we measure engagement with all the personalized AI tools that they are thinking about? And also they were asking me questions of how a PD can work, with the teachers. What are the teachers really looking for in PDs? They were saying that they had a pilot school where they did some tools, and then they see login one time by a teacher, but after that, they didn't log in. So what is going on? So I was just sharing my experiences of, a speedy, what can work with teachers. So.
All right, I'm going to claim the last word, and then we'll finish on time. One of the things that came up at the table I was at is the importance of thinking about students with special needs and the opportunities that there are there to really provide access and alternative ways of assessing their contributions to class. So that seems to me to be a really important piece to keep coming back to, is this question of where can we find learners who are not succeeding in our current systems that can have these very special opportunities as well. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to you. Thank your table partners. Enjoy the rest of the day. Keep in touch. It's been a pleasure.